All I can say is, oh, Joey, 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 Joey. And that's where I'm going to start. Chapter 6 is called Who? My day started out great. All the 4th and 5th grade classes got to go to the Amish farm for a field trip. There must have been 100 of us because we filled 2 long orange buses. My morning meds were working, and I sat at a window seat and just loved watching all the cars and houses and fields speeding by. And when Mrs. Maxey was busy with other kids, I sat up on my knees and stuck my head out the top window and felt the breeze sweep past me so fast and hard it made everything in my head stand still. That was the best part of my day right there, sticking my head out the window like a dog. When we got off the bus, Mrs. Maxey and Mrs. Steeves and 2 other teachers and a gang of moms had us all line up, and Mrs. Maxey gave everyone the lecture about respecting differences in other cultures, so no pointing and snickering or unpleasant comments or you sit on the bus. You got that? We did or we didn't, but nobody knew which just yet. Once that was out of the way, we marched toward the front steps of the farmhouse as if we were a line of ants dressed in clothes. "Stop!" hollered Mrs. Deebs when we reached the steps. When she said stop, she meant it because she had extra short hair and a big head on a really wide body that there was no getting around. Every time her head moved left or right, I thought I was about to roll down her sloping shoulders like a boulder down the hill. He's a very active imagination, doesn't he? 2 clean-looking Amish girls in long blue dresses and starched white aprons came out and said, "Welcome. The Amish have been in Lancaster County since the 1700s. We are a people who keep alive the traditions of the past. Please follow us inside to see our plain and simple way of life, our crafts and cooking." For a moment, I thought how it would have been so funny if kids took a field trip to my house when me and my grandma were living together. We'd step out the front door and say, "Welcome, our place looks like a tornado's just hit. Run around inside like we do and have a blast." The Amish girls led us across the porch, which had a line of rocking chairs. So while I was waiting my turn to go inside, I ran from chair to chair, giving each one a good push, as if a family of ghosts was rocking, until one of the moms gave me a look and pointed to the end of the line, which meant I had already lost my place. Finally, I stepped through the front door. In the large room to one side were a bunch of old ladies with handkerchief hats on their heads. They were huddled together like a circle of mushrooms after a rainstorm, and hand-sewing a big quilt with huge sunflower stars in the middle. In the next room were more ladies, hooking rugs and doing needlepoint, and even though the moms were all oohing and ahhing as if they were watching fireworks, I started to not listen to any of this because I smelled something really good, an aroma, and sweet coming from down the hall, and just after one whiff of that smell, I couldn't pay close attention to anything else. We passed a few more rooms, and I didn't care if the Amish were doing card tricks or shaving their beards off. My eyes were watering over that smell that had me staggering like a zombie. What do you think he's smelling? Something delicious, something luscious. After a lot of very polite and very boring questions and answers about Amish life, and one of the Amish girls led us the rest of the way down the hall into a huge kitchen. By then, the sweet smell was so powerful I felt my nose swelling up, just getting bigger and bigger, and I had to touch it with both hands to make sure it wasn't growing like Pinocchio's. It was still the same old size, but the smell was so overwhelming to me I couldn't get enough of it, and I just kept gulping down huge breaths of air. It was like I could eat the air. Every product made in this typical Amish kitchen is based on what nature provides, one of the girls said. We make butter and cheese, bread and biscuits, jams and jellies, but we are especially famous for our molasses shoe-fly pie. At first, I didn't think I heard her right. A pie made out of shoes and flies and molasses? I said to Seth. I bet it's really good, he said. You should ask for some with extra flies. Yeah, I said, thinking about the pie so much, I didn't hear another word that the girl said about Amish cooking secrets. The thought of a pie made out of shoes and flies was amazing to me. And really, I didn't care if they made their pies out of sweat socks and wiggle worms. As long as they turned out this sweet smelling, I'd eat them. Even as I stood there, the sweetness was making me dizzy. I experimented and closed my eyes and took a deep breath. And then I had to open my eyes quickly as I stumbled into Seth, and he gave me a shove back and called me a moron. By the time I pulled myself together, Mrs. Deebs was saying, "Okay, everyone, line up for a little piece of shoe-fly pie before we go to the garden, and later to the barn." All I could think about was shoes and flies as I stood in line, and from where I was in the back, I didn't see any kids spit it out, so it must have been good. I dropped down to my knees to see what kind of shoes the Amish girls were wearing. They may have had some special shoe tradition I didn't know about. Maybe their shoes were made out of licorice or rock candy. But their dresses were so long I couldn't see their shoes, and my mom gave an extra stern look. And he yanked me up by the back of my shirt as if I was trying to peek up their dresses. "Mind your manners, young man," the mom said with her eyebrows raised. "I'm just doing research," I shot back. When it was close to my turn, Mrs. Maxey called me to one side and whispered, "That pie's not good for you, Joey. It has too much sugar, so it's better to just stick with fruit." She must have seen the hurt look on my face because I couldn't hide it. I felt like my whole face turned into a crumpled piece of paper. "Do you think that's fair that he doesn't get to have some because it has too much sugar?" And then she reached forward and handed me a small napkin with an apple slice on it that had already started turning brown on the edges. "It has cinnamon on it," she said. "It's very good." "I don't want this," I replied. "I want the shoe-fly pie." "Don't make an issue out of it," she said firmly. "We're just doing what's best for you." And she didn't want to talk about it anymore because other kids were beginning to bunch up at the back door and stared at us. "Now move along," she said to the kids. "If you've already had your pie, go over to the pumpkin patch and carve." And then she stopped talking, like she was saying something wrong in front of me, as if she wanted to spell it out like adults do when they want to keep a secret from kids who can't spell. I took the apple slice and put it in my back pocket and kept on wondering why she didn't finish telling me about the carving. It didn't take long to figure out. A few minutes later, we were all at the pumpkin patch with our baby pumpkins that we were allowed to pick out off the vines. The Amish girls were handing out wood-handled carving knives and tools, and all the kids were sitting at picnic tables surrounded by moms who were helping them. I ran up to the Amish girl and took my tool, but Mrs. Maxey was right on me. "Joey, you can't have that knife," she said. "It's dangerous." I looked at the blade. It was real stubby and about an inch long and wasn't even that sharp. It was more like safety scissors. "It's not dangerous," I said. "Besides, my mom lets me slice bread and stuff." "We just don't want you to hurt yourself," she said calmly. And that's where we're going to stop in this long chapter. So 2 questions. What do you think is going to happen on the rest of this field trip? And why do you think it's called shoe-fly pie? Do you think there are really shoes and flies in it? We'll see you next time.